The first SC trainer was too tall. The second SC trainer was too safe. Will New Balance be able to get the third version of this shoe just right? It's time to lace up the SC Trainer version 3 and take it for a run. Yo, what's going on? My name is Kafuzi and I'm a not only runner who reviews running shoes here on YouTube, and today I want to talk to you guys all about the New Balance SC Trainer version 3. But before I give you my thoughts on this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that New Balance sent to me for the purpose of review, so I didn't have to pay for these shoes. However, nobody's paying me to make this video or to include their brand in this video, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the New Balance SC Trainer 3, and let's start with the specs. This is a 40mm stack height shoe with a 6mm drop, giving us 34mm of stack height in the forefoot. Now there's two components to this shoe. There is fuel cell foam. Fuel cell can mean a lot of different things in New Balance. Even in this product year, fuel cell can be all PEBA based foam, or in this case, as it is with the Rebel from this year, fuel cell means a PEBA EVA blend. Now, the other element that's in this shoe, you could see through this little window or channel in the bottom of the shoe, and that is the energy arc, and that is New Balance's curved carbon fiber plate. The other thing that I think is really worth noting for people who are following this shoe for the past few years is that there is a significant change to the midsole outsole design. Not only does it look similar to the rest of the product line, which I really appreciate, and I love the low poly style design, but significantly with the SC Trainer 3 specifically, there used to be a little weird rubber nubbin directly on, like glued onto the carbon fiber plate that you were running on. This year, there's actually foam in between the carbon fiber plate and the ground, which is something that I've been asking them to do since I first laid eyes on an SC Trainer years ago. Moving up top, we have New Balance's Phantom Fit, which is nice and comfortable mesh upper material. I do really miss the knit of version 1, but in my conversations with New Balance, they've said that nobody likes knit anymore, and so they moved all their shoes away from knit and are using this style of upper. What I do appreciate though, that there is a minimal amount of padding in this shoe. There's very little in the tongue and only a very little bit in the heel cup. There is a little bit of structure back here, but it's relatively floppy and it doesn't get too far in the way. New Balance is saying that this shoe comes in at 9.5 ounces for a US men's size 9, but when I weighed mine on my scales here, mine came in at 9.9 ounces or 289 grams. Now that we've talked about what the shoe is like on paper, let's talk about what it's like on foot. The New Balance SC Trainer version 3 is a really great long run shoe. I've been having a lot of fun running in this. The PEBA EVA blend is a little bit firmer than I expected, and I think that's largely coming from the interaction of this PEBA EVA foam and the plate that's in this shoe. But nevertheless, I do find that I'm really enjoying this shoe at the higher end of easy and into moderate efforts. There's a good balance here of cushion and bounce, and the foam squishes, but it still is relatively stable. And while the upper is very comfortable for being in for longer periods of time, I am gonna say that I do miss the knit material that the SC Trainer used to have. Now, even though there is a carbon plate in this shoe, I'm not sure that I would reach for this for very fast workouts, as in those situations, I think that this weight for my US men's size 9 coming in at almost 10 ounces, I think that weight is going to start becoming an issue. But for shorter bursts of speed like strides, or for less fast stuff, like if you're doing a progression long run, or if your long run has marathon effort miles in it, that's where I feel like this shoe is ideally suited. Something where you're gonna be going a little bit faster than easy, but not so fast that it's, say, like mile repeats or a Yasso 800. And so that I can be extra clear, I do want to say that I really like the SC Trainer version 3. I like the new identity for this shoe. But I am going to say that this is a new identity yet again for the SC Trainer. SC Trainer version 1 had more than 40mm of stack height with that old fuel cell formulation, which was super satisfyingly squishy. It was a great shoe, especially with that knit upper, to be in if your long run was going to be more than 3 or 4 or more hours. The only thing that I didn't really like about the first Super Comp trainer is that there wasn't really enough cushion underneath that forefoot. It had that rubber nubbin right on the carbon fiber plate, and I felt like we went from really high stack height in the heel to almost no stack height in the forefoot. But it was a quirky beast that was a lot of fun and very endearing over time. Then we had the SC Trainer version 2, which became just a lot more safe. They went under that 40mm limit, and they made the shoe a lot more stable, which felt a little less squishy, a little less fun, and I guess safer for a lot of people. It still did have that weird rubber nubbin glued on the bottom of the plate, which I still found to be very awkward and very uncomfortable. But overall, the shoe was pretty good. It was good at picking up the pace. It was really great for long runs. It was really great for long runs that had a little bit of speed into it. But it just lost all of its personality. It lost all of that quirk and character. Now we've got the SC Trainer version 3. We've got an excellent long run shoe. I really enjoy that they moved a lot of that extra foam from the heel up into the forefoot, where I personally appreciate it the most. They got rid of that rubber nubbin on the carbon fiber plate, and it's really good at what it's intending to do. It's just a little bit bland, and maybe I'm asking too much out of the shoe, but I feel like ultimately, I really love the changes that they made to the SC Trainer version 3. I just wish that somehow it could have retained a little bit of that character. I think really the only way they could have done that is if they sacrificed some of that stability that's in this shoe with the extra firmness that the PIBA EVA blend gives us, and made it a little bit more wild, made it a little bit more chaotic, to give it just a little bit more squish. I think that would have given it more character and liveliness. I think that's really what I was hoping for in the SC Trainer version 3. But perhaps maybe I was asking for a little bit too much.
A couple steps, but in slow motion. A couple distant oceans like that.
Now, before we go any further, it might make sense to zoom out a little bit and see where the SC Trainer version 3 fits within the broader New Balance lineup. Now, New Balance has kind of two parallel lines or two separate sets of shoes. And depending on what you're looking for in your running shoe, you might pick all from column A or all from column B. And so one of the kinds of foams that they have is Fresh Foam X. This is a foam that we see in shoes like the Balos and the 1080, the 880, and the Fresh Foam More. And that foam is really a lot more cushioned and a lot of bounciness. It's more of a daily training style of foam. Now, the other line of shoes that New Balance has uses a foam called Fuel Cell. Now, we've already seen that Fuel Cell can mean a couple of different things depending on the shoe which it's in. But what kind of unites Fuel Cell is that these are shoes that are all going to be a little bit more performance oriented. So depending on exactly what the shoe needs, the formulation and whether there's a carbon fiber plate might be there or it might not be. But the idea is that the shoe is going to compress quickly and decompress quickly, so that way when you're trying to turn your legs over quickly, that shoe is going to be able to respond really nicely. It's still cushioned and it's still bouncy, but it's a different kind of sensation. It kind of feels to me almost like like being on hydraulic shocks in a car, just the way that it moves. It feels a little bit more kind of mechanical. These foams also tend to be a little bit lighter than the Fresh Foam X foams, although that's not always the case when it comes to the shoes as a whole, as we'll see in a second. Now, as we go through the Fresh Foam X line, I mentioned that there's the 880, that's kind of like the standard daily trainer. That's like the workhorse in your weekly rotation. And there's also the 1080, which I'm gonna put also as a daily trainer as well. It used to kind of be the max cushion shoe, but the way they've been shifting it, it's a lot more fun and lightweight, and to me fits as like a little bit more of a cushioned and luxurious daily trainer compared to the 880. And if you're looking for that max cushion experience, that's gonna be the Fresh Foam More version 4 or version 5, which is also out. I just haven't had a chance to test it yet. Now there's also the Fresh Foam Balos, and this is the shoe that I think kind of in the two parallel lines that New Balance has, lines up most closely against the SC Trainer version 3, because this is a long run shoe. It's kind of big, but it's also bouncy and fun. It likes to run easy miles just fine, but it also could pick up the pace just a little bit. If it's a long run that's got some progression in it, or it's got some marathon miles in it, this is gonna be a really fun shoe to be able to run in. And so those are the Fresh Foam shoes. Now on the other side of the table, we've got then the Fuel Cell foams, and I'll start with the Daily Trainer, and that's going to be the Rebel version 4. This is a shoe that you can use for pretty much a little bit of everything. That's what all good daily trainers do. For your regular everyday runs, the New Balance Rebel version 4 has been really fun for me to put a lot of miles in. Then they have the racing shoe is the SC Elite version 4. This is all PEBA and a carbon fiber plate. And kind of in between these two shoes is another marathon shoe, as New Balance puts it. It's the SC Pacer version 2. And unless you're pretty much Emily Sisson, I don't think you're going to be running marathons in this shoe. For me, it's a great kind of 5K, 10K racer or a really fun workout shoe. And then on the other end of the spectrum is the long run shoe from the Fuel Cell lineup, and that's the SC Trainer version 3. And so this is kind of how I would set up a fuel cell rotation within New Balance shoes. Now, more specifically, I think before we kind of close out this section, I think we should take a look at these two shoes that are kind of doing the same thing in New Balance, but from the different sub-families, the Fresh Foam X family or from the Fuel Cell family. And I think that just because you're training seriously, whatever you take that to mean, doesn't mean you should only be using Fuel Cell shoes, or just because you consider yourself a sometimes runner or not really a runner, doesn't mean you have to just buy the Fresh Foam X shoes. The interesting thing about the Balos is that this shoe is actually lighter weight than the SC Trainer version 3. And I feel like there's a little bit more fun and a little bit more pop to the Fresh Foam X in this shoe. A lot of that fun that I'm missing from the SC Trainer version 3 made it into the Balos. And I'd say that for people who are looking for a little bit more stability in their long run shoes, this ride is a lot more stable and predictable in a lot of ways than what you're getting out of the Balos. So that's how I would really decide for someone between these two shoes as to which one of the long run options you should pick up from New Balance. Now let's wrap up the video by talking about the buying guide for the SC Trainer version 3, and then we'll go into some alternatives that you might want to also consider. The SC Trainer 3 is a fantastic long run shoe that I think a lot of people are going to be able to really enjoy for easy running, long easy runs, and also for some of those long run workouts, whether it's a progression run or a long run with some marathon miles in it. I think this is a very capable shoe for that. And I think that the SC Trainer version 3 will also continue to serve that role in the New Balance lineup as a marathon training shoe for people who think that the SC Elite might be a little bit too aggressive or too unstable. And at $180, I do think that this shoe comes in at a pretty good price point, and I would definitely recommend it over the SC Trainer version 2. I think it's a definite upgrade. But let's also take a look at some of the other shoes that are on the market to see where this shoe stacks up. Now, whenever I take a look at a long run shoe, the first shoe or two shoes that I'm always thinking about, and I feel like I've been mentioning pretty much all year long, is the Super Blast and the Invincible. But neither of those two shoes are plated like the SC Trainer version 3 is plated, and I'd like to get some variety in here. So let's talk about two others that I think you should definitely consider. The first one that I think you should consider is from Saucony, and that's the Kinvara Pro. This is taking a very similar approach to what the SC Trainer 3 is trying to do. It's using a racing foam up top and then a daily training foam on the bottom, kind of like how the SC Trainer is using a PEBA EVA blend. And there is a partial carbon fiber plate in the shoe, which you can see through this window on the bottom. And the upper is kind of built more like a daily trainer than it is a racer. So these two shoes are really trying to accomplish a lot of the same things. I feel like the Kinvara Pro is much more stable and much more firm than the SC Trainer version 3. So for me, it's less interesting of a shoe. It's a shoe that I don't want to be in for quite as long, and I definitely prefer the SC Trainer version 3. But if you are looking for something that has a little bit more stability to it, that Kinvara Pro is going to be the option that you'll want to consider, and it comes in at the same price of $180. Now, the next shoe I think is the most interesting comparison to the SC Trainer version 3, and that's from Mizuno this year, and that's the Neo Vista. This shoe also comes in at $180, and I think is trying to replicate a lot of the formula that SC Trainer is trying to pull off. And I think that what they've ended up doing with the Neo Vista is creating a clone for the SC Trainer version 1. And so if you are looking for that shoe with a knit upper and a plate, although this is a glass fiber reinforced nylon plate, it also has a really squishy midsole that is almost too squishy for me to try and run at faster distances. I feel like these two shoes are interesting alternatives, not because they line up well, but because if you are missing what the SC Trainer used to be, the Neo Vista is what you're gonna want now. So those are my thoughts on the SC Trainer version 3. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this shoe or any other shoe mentioned in this video. Or better yet, stop by the live stream I do Mondays and Thursdays over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to talk to you guys over in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?